I walked out of the county jail 3 weeks ago after serving 18 months, reduced to 14 with good conduct for aggravated assault. I know exactly how that sounds, but here's what actually happened. Late one night in a bar parking lot, a guy was slamming his girlfriend's head against a car door while she screamed. I pulled him off her. He came at me, I hit him once, he went down wrong, skull met pavement, and suddenly I was the one facing felony charges. My court-appointed lawyer was worthless. I took the plea to avoid a possible 10-year sentence. The entire time I was locked up, my mind kept drifting back to my garage workshop, to the smell of sawdust, to the life I wanted to rebuild with the carpentry skills my grandfather started teaching me when I was 8. Dad Joseph and I were never super tight, but we weren't enemies either. He's always been obsessed with appearances, what the neighbors thought, what his coworkers whispered, how the family looked. When I got arrested, he told me I'd humiliated him, that I should have just dialed 911 and walked away, never mind that the woman was bleeding and begging for help. He came to see me exactly twice in 14 months. Both visits were about how hard my incarceration was on him, how awkward it felt at the office, how many questions he had to dodge. On the second visit, around month 8, he casually mentioned he'd started dating someone new. Mom passed from cancer when I was 19, so almost a decade had gone by. I was genuinely happy he'd found someone. He talked about this woman, Ariana, he'd met at a holistic wellness center. Yoga, meditation, green juices, the whole package. He said she was teaching him to release toxic energy and redesign his life. I should have caught the red flag in that sentence. Release day was a Thursday. My PO gave me the usual lecture, report, stay clean, find a job. I had $60, the clothes I'd worn the day I got locked up, and a trash bag of belongings. I called Dad from the Greyhound station. He said he'd be there in an hour. When his SUV pulled up, Ariana was in the front passenger seat. She barely glanced back at me as I climbed in with my bag. She was busy showing Dad photos on her phone, some retreat, some crystal display. He kept murmuring, beautiful, wow, incredible. I sat in silence, feeling like an intruder on their vacation. The house looked unchanged from the street. Same quiet cul-de-sac, same beige colonial I grew up in. When I was 17, right after Grandpa died, Dad turned the detached garage into my workshop. That space had been Grandpa's before it became mine. He'd built the massive 300-pound oak workbench by hand, perfectly flat, dovetailed drawers, decades of hand-planed smoothness. Every tool hung in its outlined spot on pegboard. Mom's final gift before the cancer took her voice was a full set of premium Japanese chisels she'd secretly saved for over a year to buy me. Those chisels felt like part of my own body. I walked around back, keys already out. The side door was unlocked. I pushed it open and froze. Everything was gone. The entire garage had been gutted, painted stark white, with floor-to-ceiling mirrors on one wall, rolled yoga mats, Bluetooth speakers, fake plants everywhere, and Ariana in the center in Lululemon doing some kind of pretzel pose. She looked up at me upside down from between her legs and smirked. Your dad figured a convicted felon wouldn't be needing a hobby shop anymore. We turned it into something useful. I couldn't speak. My throat closed. She unfolded herself gracefully. He sold the bench for firewood, $40 maybe. Tools brought in another $300-400, paid for part of these professional-grade mirrors. Dad appeared in the doorway behind me, already sounding defensive. Austin, we're going to talk about realistic expectations. You can't disappear for over a year and expect the world to stay on pause. Ariana needed studio space for her growing practice, and that garage was just storage for junk you hadn't touched in forever. I found my voice. I was in prison, Dad. Where was I supposed to be using it? He rolled his eyes. Don't get dramatic. They were just old tools. That bench was half-rotted anyway. When's the last time you even picked up a plane before the arrest? Ariana cut in, voice dripping honeyed venom. Maybe time inside taught you to grow up and stop playing handyman. This is a legitimate business now, helping real people heal. Dad actually chuckled. Yeah, gonna cry over your little toys, tough guy? Ariana already had her phone up recording. Everyone meet the ex-con having a meltdown because we repurposed his shed. Thoughts and prayers. I stared at the mirrors reflecting a tired, furious stranger back at me. Then I smiled, small, cold, nothing behind it, turned and walked out. I heard her laughing as I left. Did you see his face? Gold. I walked 3 miles to the public library, sat at a computer for 6 straight hours and started building lists. Property records, tax records, business licenses, zoning laws, everything. That night I checked into a cheap motel with the small stash I'd saved inside. I lay on the lumpy bed staring at the water-stained ceiling, replaying every second of that scene. I didn't feel rage anymore. I felt clarity. I'd spent 14 months thinking about exactly this possibility, that Dad might have moved on in a way that erased me. I'd planned for it. 3 days of phone calls, verification, printing documents. I told my PO I was staying with a friend, gave the motel address, found cash daily construction work through an old contact, $75 a day, no questions. Every evening I came back covered in grit and kept researching. Revenge has to be surgical. Emotional outbursts are what they expect from the felon. That's how you go back inside. This had to be cold, legal, and catastrophic. Here's what I discovered. Grandpa's will left the house 50-50 to Dad and Mom. When Mom died intestate, her half passed directly to me, the only child. Dad never probated her estate properly. He just kept paying the mortgage and acted like he owned 100%. I'd owned half the house since age 19. Ariana's wellness practice had 0 business license, 0 liability insurance, 0 commercial zoning approval for operating out of a residence. Dad claimed me as a dependent on his taxes the previous year, while I was literally incarcerated. Classic fraud. I wasn't going to break laws. I was simply going to make them enforce the ones already broken. 2 weeks and 4 days after release, I sent Dad one text. "We need to discuss the house." He fired back, "You are not welcome here. Ariana is traumatized by your threatening behavior. Everything is documented." I didn't reply. Monday, he got the registered letter from my attorney asserting my 50% ownership. Tuesday, Ariana got the cease and desist from the county, ordering her to stop all business activity immediately. Wednesday, Dad got the IRS audit notice for the last several years, courtesy of an anonymous tip about improper dependent claims. All perfectly legal, all perfectly devastating. Update 1: people told me to go nuclear. They were right, people told me to be the bigger person. Hard pass. Monday 9 a.m. I was hanging drywall when Dad started blowing up my phone. I called back on lunch. He screamed the second he heard my voice. "What did you do? Some lawyer says you own half my house. I've paid that mortgage alone for 15 years. Grandpa left it to you and Mom equally. Mom's half came to me. You never transferred title. That's called quiet title fraud, Dad." Ariana yelling in background. "Tell the thug we're calling the cops." I stayed ice calm. "You turned Grandpa's bench into scrap and Mom's gift into mirror money. Did you think there'd be no receipt?" He tried the guilt card. "Your mother would be ashamed you're weaponizing lawyers against your own father. Mom would be ashamed you sold her dying gift for $40. Don't speak for her." His lawyer called later offering mediation. I declined. I wanted my name on the deed. Tuesday, Ariana actually cried on the phone, real tears this time. Begged me to stop because her classes were shut down and her students were confused. Offered to buy me new tools. I told her I hoped her legal fees hit 6 figures. Wednesday, a sharply dressed man was waiting in the motel lobby. Turned out to be Aunt Irene's, Dad's sister attorney. Irene wanted me to know she supported my claim, had original documents Grandpa gave her, and was willing to testify. She also warned me Dad was getting scary desperate. Thursday, an unknown number texted, "We know where you live and work. Back off or you'll regret it." I forwarded it to my attorney. Added bonus evidence. Friday, Dad showed up at the job site looking like death. Tears in his eyes, voice cracking, told me the mortgage was crushing him. Ariana wasn't earning, they were drowning. I reminded him actions have consequences. He grabbed my arm begging. I pulled away and told him he was only upset because his reputation was finally paying the price he always feared more than anything. Saturday, I met Aunt Irene. She cried, apologized for not fighting harder 10 years earlier, and handed me a folder thick with letters, deeds, and Grandpa's handwritten instructions that the house never be fully Dad's. She also told me Dad had threatened to burn it all down rather than let me have half. I smiled on the drive home. Perfect, more ammo. Update 2, Dad went full scorched earth. Called every relative, spun me as unhinged and dangerous. Uncle Miller flew in from Arizona trying to mediate. Offered $45K cash plus replacement tools if I walked away. I countered with $60K minimum plus a public apology on the same platforms Ariana used to mock me. Dad refused the apology, said he'd rather sell the house to strangers. Ariana called my job pretending to be worried stepmom, trying to get my schedule and pay rate. Got shut down hard. Then she made a tearful video for her remaining students painting me as a violent stalker. One student secretly recorded Ariana laughing right after, bragging how well the scared victim act was working, and sent it to me. I forwarded it everywhere. Dad actually started meeting realtors to force a partition sale just to spite me. I filed the IRS fraud report, filed the unlicensed business complaint with witness statements, and emailed Ariana's fake victim video to every studio within 30 miles. Final update Monday, the IRS expanded Dad's audit to 5 years. Ariana's interviews evaporated. Dad's texts went from rage to panic to broken pleading. Tuesday night, someone broke into the house, shattered every mirror, spray-painted karma and remember the bench everywhere. Dad instantly accused me. Cops cleared me in under an hour, ironclad work alibi. Wednesday, Dad showed up at the site again, grabbed my shirt, screamed I'd sent people to trash his home. Crew pulled him off. He admitted, finally, that he sold everything out of spite because my arrest embarrassed him. I offered one last deal. $60,000 cash for his half. I assume the mortgage. They disappear forever, and I file nothing new. He refused the no-gag clause. I said, fine, let it foreclose. I'll buy it cheaper at auction, and he gets zero. 3 hours later, his lawyer called back. Deal. No restrictions on my speech. We closed the following Wednesday. Dad's hand shook signing the quitclaim deed. Ariana had already fled to her mom's in another state after a massive fight with him. As he walked out, he said, "Your grandfather would be proud, ruthless, just like him. Your mother would be heartbroken." I replied, "Then she should have picked a better husband." I spent weeks repairing the vandalism myself, tore out every mirror, repainted, rebuilt the workshop from scratch. I couldn't replicate Grandpa's bench or Mom's chisels exactly, but I built new ones with my own hands. The house is mine. The mortgage is mine. The workshop is mine again. Dad filed bankruptcy last month. Ariana is selling phone cases in a mall in California. I'm sitting at my new bench at 1 a.m. finishing this post, sawdust in my hair, music low, tools hanging exactly where they belong. Some things you can't replace, but you can rebuild. And sometimes rebuilding is the sweetest revenge of all.